If the stock front lower control arms in your 2010 through 2014 Mustang have been damaged, or maybe are just beat from high mileage, well then it's time to look into a turnkey replacement kit with brand new sway bar end links like the options that we have on the table here today. Now these two brand new lower control arms will come loaded with a fresh set of rubber bushings, along with brand new ball joints here, and again the included end links, all for right around that mid $300 price point. So there are a couple of reasons why you might need to look into a brand new set of lowers. Maybe you smoked a curb with your S197 or got into a minor fender bender and tweaked the stocker slightly. Or maybe your car just has a ton of miles on it and therefore the bushings or ball joints have just seen better days, which can lead to a number of issues, including clunking, vibration, and just poor handling overall. Now the new options that we have here today from TRQ will freshen up the entire lower from the inner bushings, in addition to the new low friction ball joint, all loaded into the burly steel arms finished in a black paint. Now this will essentially be a factory replacement here, guys, in every sense of the word, meaning you're not going to be losing any weight like you would be with a tubular lower controller option, and you're not really gaining any performance per se like you would be with an aftermarket polyurethane bushing. Instead, the only upgrade here will be the fact that these are a 100% brand new and fresh option and will take some of the sloppiness out of your 10-plus-year-old components. Now moving into construction, and the TRQ options will be right on par with the factory arms in every single way, from the steel itself finished in the black paint, and then from there the arm is loaded with fresh inner and outer rubber bushings along with the brand new ball joints. Now this particular option does also include the brand new end links, as you can see here, factory length part, factory styled part, including the sealed boots, and again, everything is complete. You do get some fresh hardware here with this kit as well. Finally, everything is backed by a 2-year or 24,000-mile warranty, just in case you run into any issues. Moving into our price point, and these arms are going to come in around that mid $300 pricing for the pair with the end lengths here. That basically puts them right in line with other factory styled replacements that you'll encounter either here on our site or maybe somewhere else. Now, if you did want to look into one of those upgrade options like we mentioned earlier, whether in the form of a tubular steel option or maybe something loaded with a more performance-oriented bushing, well then chances are you are going to be spending a little bit more money at the end of the day. But again, if you are just looking to get your stuff back to factory fresh, these are certainly a nice and affordable option. All right, moving into the installation, and the site's going to call this one a middle of the road 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you a couple of hours or so to complete from start to finish. But now to give you a better idea of how this one might go down in the garage or driveway at home, let's throw it out to the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
Tools required for this install include a couple different size impact guns, an electric and a hand ratchet, a rubber mallet, a hammer, 15 and 18 millimeter wrenches, 18, 19, and 21 millimeter ratcheting wrenches, a ball joint tool, a couple different size extensions, 18, 19, and 24 millimeter sockets, and a pry bar. What's up, guys? Today we're installing lower control arms and end links on our Mustang, so let's get started. So I'm going to start by removing our sway bar end link. I've got an 18 millimeter nut at the top and the bottom. Now if your whole stud starts to spin, you've got an 18 millimeter head on the back of your end link here that you can hold with an 18 millimeter wrench. And that one is starting to spin. I'm going to get that 18 millimeter wrench on the back. Pop that out. And on the bottom, I'm going to have to grab an 18 millimeter ratcheting wrench, because it's flipped the other way. And I'll thread that nut the rest of the way off and fully remove your end link. Next, we're going to take an 18 millimeter socket to remove our tie rod end. Now I'm going to take a hammer and give the side of the knuckle a couple taps, see if we can break this free. Next, I'm going to take an 18 millimeter socket to remove the nut on our pinch bolt. Now I'm going to throw that nut back on a few threads and give it some taps with a hammer to pop that bolt out the other side. Remove your nut. Now next I'm going to get a 15mm socket on a ratchet to try to spin this out the other side. If it's not coming back, you can take a wrench and use it kind of as a pry bar against that lower control arm to force it out. And remove your bolt. Now that ball joint's going to be really stuck in the knuckle, so I've got a ball joint remover tool. I'm going to take a 24mm socket. It's going to tighten up this bolt and it's going to squeeze against the knuckle and on the stud of the ball joint, and it should help us pop it free. Now be careful with these, because when these ball joints do pop, sometimes these tools like to go flying. Now I can see our ball joint moving, but it's not popping yet. Let's see if we can just get it pressed all the way down. So now our ball joint's not popping, but we do have it pressed down pretty far. So I'm gonna leave that for now until we get our mounts loosened up. And then once we have some swing in this lower control arm, we should just be able to slide that out. So I'm just gonna reverse that and remove my tool. Next, I'm gonna loosen up our rearward mount. So it's gonna be two 21mm nuts. I've got 21mm ratcheting wrench here. I'm gonna do the same thing on the nut on the other side. And on the other side of the bushing, I'm just gonna take that same 21mm ratcheting wrench. I'll just remove my nut and bolt from both sides. Now next we need to remove the bolt on our forward mount. Now our inner tie rod here is blocking that bolt. So what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna hop in the car. We're on the driver's side here, so I'm gonna turn the wheel all the way towards the passenger side, and that should suck this in, and we'll see if we can get enough clearance where we can kind of move this around to get access to that bolt. So now with our wheel turned all the way to the passenger side, we've got much better access there. So I'm gonna grab an 18mm socket on a ratchet. And I'm gonna use a little bit of a cheater bar to get leverage here. And we're gonna start working that bolt free. And now with that loosened up a good bit, I'm gonna grab my 18mm ratcheting wrench and keep working that out. So now we just gotta work on getting our bolt out. So I'm just gonna want my tie rod to go a little bit higher. So make sure your end link's disconnected on the other side as well. And then we can pry up on our sway bar and get that out of the way. So now I've got my pry bar on my sway bar, so I can pull that up and pull my tie rod up and then slip that bolt out. So now I'm just gonna get a wrench behind that bolt head and tap it the rest of the way out. So now I've just got a pry bar. I'm gonna try to pry that out of our mount. So now we just have a little bit more to go on our lower ball joint here. So I've got my ball joint tool here. I've got an 11mm socket in there that's fitting around the stud nicely. And now I'm just gonna take that 24mm socket again, tighten that down and try to pop that free. And now we've got that broken free, so we'll get that out of there. I'm gonna rotate my whole hub around, and then I'll get my pry bar to just pop that mount out. So now I'm just gonna work that bushing out and pop my control arm free. So now I've got our new lower control arm. I'm gonna try to maneuver this into my mount and my knuckle to get started off here. So I've got my lower control arm kind of wedged in there a little bit. I've got my ball joint started in that hole. So I'm just gonna take a rubber mallet, just give a few taps here to get that to pop into our knuckle. And now with that in place, we can start maneuvering our lower control arm into the mounts. So now I'm just gonna try to get as much hardware in as I can to create more fixed points to make this easier. So I'm gonna get this flag bolt and nut in, Let's see if I can get my holes on the back to line up. Pry down on that a little bit. So now prying there, starting to get my other mount lined up. So I'm just gonna keep trying to work this and get more hardware in place. So now I've got my forward mount lined up. So I just went ahead and taped my tie rod to the sway bar just because I kind of need a third hand for this. And that'll cause it to move with it. I'm gonna pry up on my sway bar and start feeding my bolt in. Give it a couple taps. Now on the other side of our bigger bushing, I'm gonna install that flag bolt and nut. And then I'm gonna take my 21mm ratcheting wrench and just get that started. This is just gonna help our alignment so that we can get the other bushing started as well. Now we'll go back to our forward mount, take our 18mm ratcheting wrench, and tighten down that bolt. And now I'm running out of room with my ratcheting wrench before I start hitting the frame here. So I'm gonna get my 18mm socket on there. And I'm just gonna snug it up for now. We're gonna get our pinch bolt in and then we'll put a load on our suspension to tighten our bushings. Next we'll install that pinch bolt through our lower ball joint. I've got a pull jack on the lower ball joint to make sure that that little notch in the ball joint stud is lined up. And then I'm just gonna tap that through with a hammer. Then on the other side, you can thread on your nut. And then we can go back and tighten that down. Now grab a 15mm wrench on your bolt side and an 18mm socket on the nut side and tighten that down. So now I've got a pull jack underneath of my lower ball joint. I'm putting a good load on the suspension to get this to ride height so that we can tighten these bolts down. For these kinds of bushings, you always want to do this at ride height. Don't torque it while it's in the air. So I'm gonna get my 18mm socket on there. I'm gonna use my cheater bar again to tighten that down. And then once that's good and tight, we'll go over to the other side. Now we'll go to our rearward bushing, tighten down those two nuts. Now we can install our sway bar end link. So I'm gonna get that into our bottom hole first. And I'm gonna use a pry bar to pry down on the sway bar while I get it into the upper mount. And I'll thread my nuts on. And then on the top, I'm gonna take a 19mm socket on my impact gun, tighten that one down. Now on the bottom, I'm gonna grab a 19mm ratcheting wrench, tighten this one down. And now I went ahead and turned our steering wheel back to center, and we're just gonna reinstall our tie rod end. So just do a little wiggle to get that in place. Thread your nut back on and grab your 18mm socket and tighten it down. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the front lower control arms with ball joints and sway bar links for your 2010 to 14 Mustang. Thank you for watching, and for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.